So welcome, David. I so appreciate your consistent leadership and solidarity as always, my friend. And as always at SETC, we begin all things by acknowledging our creator. We acknowledge our ancestors. We acknowledge all the original stewards of the various lands we're on. We acknowledge all those who toiled without compassion or compensation. We acknowledge all our elders and community stalwarts whose shoulders we stand on as we build, share, and learn together for our collective liberation and sovereignty. So, David, can you please introduce yourself to our listeners and viewers and share a bit about your decades of remarkable work, sir?
Sure. Thank you, Victor. My name is David Upton. I have been in the sector since, good Lord, since Christ wore short pants. I started my first social business in 1990 and have been involved in the sector in one way or another in a number of different parts of the country since then. The last dozen years or so, I launched a company called Common Good Solutions. We have attempted to support the development of the sector by filling in gaps. So whether it was online training, we started doing online training in 2016 to level the playing field between urban and rural. We do and continue to do consulting work with business plans. We do lots of impact measurement work. Over the years, we've done a fair bit of policy work. So we've been, not just myself, but all the people that have come through our place over the years have all been pretty involved in trying to sort of an environment where system change was possible.
Incredible. Thank you so much for that. I appreciate you and all that you do for so many. My next question is, what inspires you about your work? What has you curious right now? What has you passionate? What's still lighting your fire?
The thing that's got me mostly excited is, well, there are two things, I guess. One is I sort of step back from running the day-to-day. I don't really run Common Good Solutions anymore. I'm a young woman named Chelsea McNeil who's been running the business for the last year and a bit. And I think the sector and certainly the employees of the company are better off because of it. She's fabulous and is doing great things. I'm still really interested in and intrigued by capital and the power of demand side capital to create change, to meaningfully create change. I worry that, Victor, we've known each other for a while, and I'm not known for being subtlety is not my greatest strength, probably. But I guess what I think is we're trying to bridge this 10-foot chasm between what organizations doing real work on the ground need in communities and what capital is available right now. So we're trying to bridge this 10-foot chasm, and we keep being cautious and trying to create 5-foot jumps over this 10-foot chasm. And I worry, I am truly impressed with the efforts that have been made over the last 5 or 6 or 7 years to narrow the gap. What we're trying to do is a really damned hard thing. And I'm personally of the mind that all the people involved in this deserve to be supported, even when, and I'm speaking personally, even when I'm not sure that they're doing it the way that I think they should do it. Because it's really, we're all the work we're doing is tramping down the deep snow, and it's as much as it can be liberating, it is not without it's not anybody who's got a fear should not be trying this. This is hard work where you have to take chances, and I think we are, as a sector, trying to take chances.
Incredible, and I couldn't agree more in terms of that gap. So my next question is, what challenges and barriers do you face in your work, and what are some of the approaches that you and your colleagues are taking to attack some of these challenges?
We're really starting to focus on system change as the primary outcome of the work that we do. So every time we look at a project, we go, does this project have the potential to either demonstrate the way the system could change, or is it actually going to change the system? And so we've kind of shifted as the sector has grown. The kind of work we've done has had to change and morph because there are more actors doing lots of things, and we're appreciative of that. So we're not trying to be all things, to all people, maybe like we would have tried a decade ago. There are now lots of other people. When I first was trying to pitch social enterprise in Atlantic Canada, I'd have to pay people to get four of them in a coffee shop to talk about it. That's not the case anymore. There are now hundreds of people doing this work, and not just because of us, but because it's the time is right for it to happen. But I think system changes is the hardest nut to crack. We know that through COVID, there was this window of opportunity, significant window of opportunity to really dramatically change the way we do things. And for a while, it looked like that was going to happen. And whether it was, the tragedies with that we saw occur that came to light over COVID, missing and murdered Indigenous women and children, Black Lives Matter. You could go on and on and on. The things that we became aware of, there was some promise that we were going to make a meaningful change. But as they said in the movie, change is hard, donkey, and people are slow to change because change means uncertainty, and not many people like to live with uncertainty. But we have to keep pushing on those walls. And I'm kind of singing to the choir, I feel, to be honest, Victor. But we need to kind of keep, in our own ways, all just pushing up against the walls that stop us from achieving different outcomes, because we've tried different ways of doing things and expected different ways to achieve different results.
I agree completely. And you've been doing remarkable work in Atlantic Canada and across Canada for years. My next question is more around the future of social finance in Canada. Like right now, as we talk about the supply side and demand side of capital and trying to harmonize or close that gap, a lot of times, folks, one of the elephants in the room is the fact that some of these remarkable technologies and tools like social finance, impact investing, community finance, sustainable finance are slowly becoming partisan products and knowledge products and policy. And that's also kind of scary, because these are tools, instruments that have been used since time immemorial with different names. But long story short, or long story long, I should say, how do you feel about the future of social finance in Canada?
I think we're in for some reasonably significant speed bumps as we develop our skill sets and the appropriate nomenclature and language around. Like, as you said, one man's social finance is another man's community investment. Like there's the language and there's nothing certain about it. I also think that it's a long game solution. We are, certainly someone of my generation is going to be, probably drooling in a damn cup before it all gets done properly. It's going to take time to get it right. I worry, a woman that I think that I know for sure, Nancy Neamton. So Nancy formed the Chantier and was a woman I worked with when we were building the policy for social innovation, social finance. She introduced me to a concept called the principle of subsidiarity. And it fundamentally changed the way I think about everything. So the principle of subsidiarity works like this. It's the idea: if you put the resources and the decision-making in the hands of the nearest competent authority to the problem, your chances of solving the problem go up exponentially. And we seem to have failed to grasp that idea in the work that we're doing. And so as an Atlantic Canadian, there are no wholesalers in Atlantic Canada. So there are no, and we all, and this is, and I know the guys, the folks that are doing the work, and they're some of them are friends of mine. A lot of them are people that I respect a lot. But there is this notion that they're not that close to our problem. And again, I'm pretty sure that you understand what I'm saying in a way that's profound. So I don't know the immediate answer. I know that we're going to have to work through the things that we have to work through to get to the place. But there are solutions, place-based solutions. There are that are available in our region, Atlantic Canada, that are maybe not being deployed right out of the gate, while everybody starts to feel their way through what the process has to be.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. I think it's unfortunate there isn't a wholesale in Atlantic Canada. When you look at the Quebec consortium and how well they've organized their economic relationships, where it's just a no-brainer. The work that Nancy, Beatrice, and Natalie and Philip, remember, it was a $20 million investment that created over $600 million of economic activity. So Quebec is almost the poster child for social economy in Canada.
And globally.
Yeah, it's 100% in terms of international model. And I think leveraging those tools in Atlantic Canada is important because, as my elder Nene Kafeli always says, those who feel it know it best. So it's very similar to that principle of subsidiarity that you mentioned.
I think it is the principle. Yeah.
Yeah, it's the same thing in all cultures. Yeah. And I think when we look at the current structure of the social finance fund and three wholesalers, what makes the most sense to me is just based off of Common Good Solutions work over the past 2 decades. Like Common Good approach, ideally play a role as an intermediary and galvanizing other partners to actually create a very diverse, just, accessible, inclusive, equitable pathway to a wholesaler. Because I don't see new wholesalers emerging anytime soon, but I do think that CGS should be a natural fit as an intermediary, and finding ways and means to partner with folks from the Black community, Indigenous community, and other communities to create a model where SPOs are supported and serviced, but then also creating a pathway to an Atlantic wholesaler long-term that really keeps up with the demographic shifts of Canada. Once again, censoring justice, access, diversity, and equity.
Yeah, I agree with you. Chelsea, the work Chelsea's done over the last year and a half has been to create an advisory committee, an Atlantic Advisory Committee. It is a diverse, you know many of the people on that committee. It's a diverse committee made up of people from across the 4 provinces. Its focus has been on developing and supporting a regional ecosystem that can support people on the ground in the communities that we care about. And the reason we have to do it on an Atlantic basis is if we want to have traction in places where decisions are being made, we have to have a certain gravitas, and we can't get that. Our provinces are too small to be, Hamilton, Ontario is a little bit about the same size as New Brunswick in terms of population. So like, it's kind of like, is Hamilton going to get its own a wholesaler? Probably not. So we're taking a 2.3 million person region and making that argument makes it easier. The problem, one of the things we've got, and you know this, is I don't like national programs. I'm largely think national programs in a country the size of Canada don't work. And a perfect example would be registered retirement savings plans. I own RRSPs. I think RRSPs are a good thing because it's a national program. And this is the story actually has a point, but so because RRSPs are a national program, a well-known national program, and viewed largely as a successful one, it's a perfect example to use why national programs don't work, as well as pan-Canadian ones. So Nova Scotia contributes about $600 or $700 million a year in the purchase of RRSPs. How much of that money, and most all of that money goes into mutual funds. How much of the $600 million do you think is reinvested back in Nova Scotia every year?
A very small percentage, I'm sure.
2%, $12 million. That's our largest export is net cash. So although it's a very good program, our capital every year goes to build the economies of Ontario and the West. I mean, different places. I don't even know where the hell the money goes, just not back here. And so although I strongly support the notion of RRSPs as a program, because we use a national lens as opposed to a pan-Canadian lens, we end up with missed opportunities. Imagine if this $500 million a year that's being, actually $580 million a year that's exiting the province, imagine it was being reinvested back in the province every year. over a decade. What change would that make to our province? So the small difference would be by making it a pan-Canadian program, we have to change one rule, and that is we still invest in our RSPs, we get all the same benefit. It's a national program in terms of structure, but it gets deployed on a regional basis that meets the real expectations of people on the ground in the area where the money is being invested. And I don't know why, I can't imagine why social finance should be any different.
I couldn't agree more. And these are conversations that my colleague Louise Adongo, as you know, talks about all the time in terms of.
I had a great visit with Louise last week.
Yeah, Louise is incredible. One of the leaders in Atlantic Canada that's doing some great work. So no, I couldn't agree with you more. So my next question is, what is your ultimate goal and what does success look like and feel like to you and your colleagues?
So I think it probably feels a little different for me at this stage of my career. I'm a hell of a lot closer to 70 than I am to 65. I actually too close to 70 to talk about it, but I'm mostly like stepping back. My position isn't anymore to lead. It isn't. It's to support, be, and cheer on those people who are leading. So when I watch the young leaders coming out of the woodwork, the Louisa Dongos, the Chelsea McNeils, the Chris Gugus, well, these are people that are like wicked ass smart and committed to change, and it makes me hopeful. The degree to which I'm able to help them is questionable, to be honest. I mean, I sometimes can help, but mostly these guys have it figured out, and they're going to make the next big jump. And it's one of the things when I get interviewed is that I always find a little bit ironic is when I get asked about the future, the one that I'm not likely going to be, significantly participating in. I have my ideas about where it should go, but it's really time for, it's a bit of a cliche, but with the sector and the social economy and the social enterprise sector improves one old white guy executive retirement at a time. And I can say that. You maybe can only think it, but I can say it.
David, I appreciate your leadership, your transparency, your candor, and your humor as always, and all the remarkable actual insights you provided. My last question is, do you have any closing thoughts or calls to action for our listeners and our viewers, sir?
That's clearer to me than ever is that nobody can afford to be a bystander anymore. It's like, you look at the world there are lots of things going on that are terrible, and we can't fix them all, but we can't stand around fixing nothing because we're too overwhelmed by when you look at the big picture, you tend to get paralyzed. My partner, who I've lived with for, it's our fourth, holy shit, decade. She's a fabulous person and I adore her, but in Nova Scotia, we're leaders in managing waste. So at home, we sort plastics, everybody does it, not just us, it's the way it works. And sometimes she'll say, it seems like such a waste that, because we've been in Ethiopia, we've been in other countries, Sydney, Australia, and we've been in St. John's, Newfoundland, where they throw everything in the garbage. And she's going, who are we to think that we're going to be able to make a difference by doing it? And my point to her, and she largely agrees with me for sure, but my point to everybody is the only way we make change is by doing it. And if Victor Beausoleil does it, somebody's going to look at Victor Beausoleil and say, well, if Victor does it, maybe I should think about it too. If Victor doesn't do it, we're all is lost. So don't be a bystander. I mean, no one should be a bystander. Take a stand on things that matter, and don't idly watch while somebody else's problem doesn't get solved.
I couldn't agree more. In the words of our illustrious ancestor Tupac Shakur, I may not change the world, but I may spark the mind that does. So, we got to be the change we want to see. I couldn't agree more, sir.
Yeah.
So we'll close this interview the way we began, by acknowledging our creator, by giving thanks to the original stewards of the various lands we're on. We acknowledge all our ancestors. We acknowledge all those who toiled without compassion or compensation. We acknowledge all our elders and community stalwarts whose shoulders we stand on as we build, share, and learn together for our collective liberation and sovereignty. Thank you so much, David, for all that you do for so many.
Thanks so much, Victor. Nice to see you.